Have you ever noticed that when English speakers talk to each other, half the words seem to disappear, and what you learned in textbooks sounds nothing like real conversation? I'm Marcie, and today I'm going to share something that changed everything for my students: the hidden patterns of connected speech that native speakers use automatically, but that nobody teaches you in traditional English classes. You see, here's what's happening. When we speak naturally, we don't pronounce every single word clearly and separately like robots. Instead, we blend words together, we drop sounds, we change sounds, and we create these flowing chains of connected speech that can sound completely different from how those same words look written on a page. This is why you might understand English perfectly when you read it. You know all the vocabulary, you know the grammar. But when you listen to a TV show or a conversation between native speakers, suddenly it feels like a different language entirely. Now, let me tell you something really important. This is not because your English is bad, and it's not because native speakers are speaking too fast just to confuse you. This is simply how natural spoken English works, and once you understand these patterns, once you learn to recognize them and use them yourself, your listening comprehension will jump dramatically, and your own speaking will start to sound much more natural and fluent. So let's dive into this together, and I promise you, by the end of this lesson, you're going to hear English in a completely new way. The first pattern I want to teach you is called linking, and this happens when one word ends with a consonant sound and the next word starts with a vowel sound. So instead of saying each word separately with a little pause between them, we connect them smoothly. For example, think about the phrase an apple. Most learners say it like this: an apple, with a tiny break between the words, but native speakers connect it, so it sounds like an apple, almost like one word. The consonant N at the end of an flows directly into the vowel sound at the beginning of apple. Here's another one: pick it up. When you connect these words naturally, it doesn't sound like three separate words. It sounds more like pick it up, where the K sound connects to the vowel in it, and the T sound connects to the vowel in up. This linking happens constantly in natural speech. It's everywhere. And once you start noticing it, you'll hear it in every conversation, every movie, every song. Let me give you more examples so you can really understand this pattern. Turn off becomes turn off. Get out becomes get out. Come in becomes come in. Look at becomes look at. Notice how smooth these sound when you connect them, how much more natural they feel compared to saying each word with a pause. Now, the second pattern is even more surprising, and it's called the schwa sound. And this might be the most important sound in English that nobody ever taught you. The schwa is that lazy, reduced vowel sound that we use for unstressed syllables and small function words. It sounds like And here's the thing: we use it constantly. For example, the word to. You probably learned to pronounce it like to, with a clear oo sound, right? But in natural speech, especially in the middle of a sentence, we usually reduce it to t. So I want to go doesn't sound like I want to go. It sounds more like I want to go, or even I wanna go. When we speak quickly, the same thing happens with and, which becomes und, or even just n in fast speech. So bread and butter becomes bread and butter. The word can in positive sentences becomes kun. So I can do it sounds like I can do it. The articles a and an also become schwa sounds. So instead of a and an, they become and un, which is why I have a cat sounds like I have a cat. This pattern of reducing unstressed words is absolutely everywhere in English. And if you're listening for the full, clear pronunciation of every word, you're going to miss a lot of what people are saying. Now let's talk about the third pattern, which is dropping sounds, specifically the T sound. Because in American English especially, we love to drop or change our T sounds in certain positions. When a T comes between two vowel sounds, like in the word water, we don't actually say a clear T sound. Instead, we use what's called a flap T, which sounds almost like a very quick D sound. So water sounds more like waiter. Butter sounds like butter. Better sounds like better. Matter sounds like matter. This is why many learners think Americans are saying D when they're actually spelling it with a T. But no, it's just this flap T pattern. Also, when T comes at the end of a word or before another consonant, we often don't release it fully or we drop it completely. For example, I don't know often sounds like I don't know with barely any T sound, or even I dunno. And right now might sound like right now with the T almost disappearing. The phrase next day often sounds like next day, and just me sounds like just me. This isn't lazy English. This isn't bad pronunciation. This is simply how the language naturally flows when people speak at a normal, comfortable pace. Now, the fourth pattern I want to share with you is called contraction blending. And you probably know contractions like I'm, your, don't, can't. But in fast, natural speech, we blend even more than the standard contractions you learned in textbooks. For example, going to becomes gonna, want to becomes wanna, have to becomes have to, got to becomes gotta, out of becomes oughta, kind of becomes kinda, sort of becomes sorta, and a lot of becomes a lotta. These aren't slang. These are standard reductions that every native speaker uses in casual conversation. So when someone says, I'm gonna have to think about it, they're using completely normal, natural English, not informal or incorrect English. Here's another interesting thing. We also blend pronoun contractions even further in fast speech. So did you becomes did ya, as in, did you see that? Which sounds like, did you see that? But with the words flowing together. Would you becomes would ya. Don't you becomes don't ya. Got you becomes gotcha. And this is why sometimes you hear what sounds like completely different words than what's actually being said. The fifth pattern is about rhythm and stress. And this is crucial because English is a stress-timed language, which means that stressed syllables occur at regular intervals, and unstressed syllables get squeezed in between. They get shortened and reduced. This is very different from syllable-timed languages, where each syllable gets roughly equal time. So in English, when you say a sentence, you don't give equal emphasis to every word. Instead, you stress the important content words like nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. And you reduce the function words like articles, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, and pronouns. For example, in the sentence, I went to the store to buy some bread, the stressed words are went, store, buy, and bread, while words like I, to, the, and some are unstressed and reduced. So it sounds more like I went to the store to buy some bread, with a rhythm that bounces between stressed and unstressed syllables. This rhythm is what gives English its characteristic sound, its musicality. And if you stress every word equally, your speech will sound unnatural and be harder to understand, even if your grammar and vocabulary are perfect. Now let's talk about what you can do with all this information. Because understanding these patterns is one thing, but training your ear and your mouth to recognize and use them is another. First, I want you to start listening actively for these patterns in real English content. Watch TV shows, watch movies, watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts. But this time, don't just listen passively. Actively try to catch these connected speech patterns. Press pause when you hear something that sounds blended or reduced. Try to figure out what words were actually said and how they connected together. Second, practice shadowing, which means listening to a short piece of natural English, maybe just 1 or 2 sentences, and then immediately trying to repeat it exactly as you heard it, copying the rhythm, the stress, the connections, the reductions, everything. Don't worry about understanding every word at first. Just focus on matching the sound and the flow. This trains your mouth and your ears simultaneously, and over time, these natural patterns will start to feel automatic to you. Third, when you speak English, give yourself permission to relax, to let words flow together, to not pronounce every single sound perfectly and separately. Many learners think that clear pronunciation means separating every word, but actually, clear natural pronunciation means connecting words smoothly and using these reduction patterns appropriately. So practice saying common phrases with linking. Say check it out instead of check it out. Say wanna come instead of want to come. Say gimme instead of give me. Let your mouth relax and let the sounds blend naturally. Fourth, focus on the rhythm and music of English. Tap your hand or nod your head to the stressed syllables as you listen or speak. Feel the beat of the language. Remember that English has this boom-da pattern where stressed syllables are the beats and unstressed syllables fill in between. If you can feel this rhythm, if you can internalize it, your English will automatically start to sound more natural. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be worried that if you speak this way, people won't understand you, or that it's too casual, or that you should speak clearly and formally. But here's the truth. These patterns are not casual or sloppy. They are the foundation of natural spoken English at every level, from casual conversations to business meetings to academic lectures. Native speakers use these patterns automatically because this is how the language works. It's not about being formal or informal. It's about being natural and fluent. Of course, in some situations, like giving a presentation or speaking in a noisy environment, you might slow down and articulate more clearly, and that's perfectly fine. But even then, you'll still use many of these patterns instinctively. The linking, the stress patterns, the rhythm, and understanding these patterns will help you be understood more easily, not less, because you'll be speaking the way native speakers expect to hear the language. Let me also say this. Don't feel like you need to master all of these patterns overnight. This is a journey. Start by just noticing one pattern, maybe linking. Listen for it. Practice it in a few common phrases. Then gradually add more awareness. Add the schwa reductions. Notice the flap T. Pay attention to rhythm. Little by little, your ear will become more sensitive. Your speaking will become more natural, and your comprehension will improve dramatically because you'll finally understand what you're actually hearing instead of wondering why people don't speak like your textbook. Here's something really encouraging that I want you to know. Every student I've worked with who learned about connected speech had the same reaction. They said, "Marcie, this explains everything. I finally understand why I couldn't understand before. I thought there was something wrong with my English, but it turns out I just didn't know about these patterns." And that's exactly right. Once you know what to listen for, once you know how English actually sounds in real life, the fog clears. Conversations that seemed impossibly fast suddenly become manageable. Movies that were frustrating become enjoyable, and you stop feeling like you're constantly 2 steps behind in every conversation. So here's my challenge for you. For the next week, I want you to actively listen for just one of these patterns. Pick whichever one interests you most. Maybe it's linking. Maybe it's the schwa. Maybe it's the flap T. And just notice it. Don't pressure yourself to use it perfectly yet. Just start recognizing it in the English you hear around you. Watch one episode of a TV show and count how many times you hear linking between words. Listen to a podcast and notice when speakers reduce to ta or gonna instead of going to. Make it like a fun game, a treasure hunt for these patterns. And I promise you'll be amazed at how often they appear. They're literally everywhere, in every sentence, in every conversation. After you've spent a week just noticing, then start experimenting with using these patterns yourself. Practice a few common phrases with natural linking and reduction. Say them out loud. Record yourself. Compare how you sound to native speakers. Adjust. Try again. Be patient with yourself, because this is building a new skill. You're training muscles in your mouth and patterns in your brain that might be completely different from your native language. And that takes time and practice. But every bit of practice moves you forward. Every moment of awareness makes you better. Remember, the goal here isn't to sound exactly like a native speaker if that's not your goal. The goal is to understand natural English when you hear it, and to speak in a way that flows naturally and is easy for others to understand. Whether you keep a bit of your accent or not doesn't matter. What matters is that you can communicate effectively, confidently, and naturally. And understanding these connected speech patterns is absolutely essential for that. Before we finish, I want to give you a few specific phrases to practice this week. Phrases that use multiple patterns at once, so you can really feel how English flows in natural conversation. "I'm going to have to think about it" can become "I'm gonna have to think about it." Notice the linking, the reductions, the flow. Say it a few times. Let the words melt together. "Do you want to come with us?" can become "Do you want to come with us?" Or even "Do you want to come with us?" In very fast speech, feel how those sounds connect and reduce. "What are you going to do about it?" becomes "What are you gonna do about it?" with heavy blending and reduction. "I don't know what you're talking about" becomes "I dunno what you're talking about" in casual speech. Notice how many sounds disappear or change. Practice these. Say them slowly at first to understand the pattern. Then speed up gradually until they feel natural and smooth. And remember, this isn't about memorizing phrases. It's about understanding the patterns so you can apply them to any sentence, any conversation, any situation. All right, my friends, we've covered a lot today. We've talked about linking consonant to vowel sounds. We've explored the schwa and how we reduce unstressed words. We've learned about the flap T and dropped sounds. We've discussed contraction blending and those natural reductions like gonna and wanna. And we've emphasized the importance of rhythm and stress in creating natural English flow. These 5 patterns are the foundation of natural connected speech. And once you understand them and start using them, your English will transform in ways you might not have thought possible. I hope this lesson has opened your ears and your mind to how English really sounds. I hope it's taken away some of the frustration you might have felt when trying to understand fast speech. And I hope it's given you practical tools to improve both your listening and your speaking. Remember, learning a language is a journey, not a race. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small progress, notice improvements, and keep practicing every single day. Even if it's just for a few minutes, consistency is what builds fluency. Consistency is what makes these patterns automatic in your brain and your mouth. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate you being here and working on your English. If you found this lesson helpful, I'd love for you to try these techniques this week and see how they work for you. Keep listening, keep practicing, keep believing in your ability to master this beautiful language. And remember, you're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to be better than you were yesterday. And that's always enough. I'm Marcie, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, enjoy the journey of discovering how English really works.